It is Tuesday morning at Mortgage Coach, and we have the one and only Sue Woodard.
Hey, everybody. How are you? Glad to be here with Dave.
We finally got her. I think we were scheduled to do this like 3 weeks ago.
We were a few weeks ago, and I again apologize to the Mortgage Coach family. I got stuck in the inevitable travel situation and our weather in Minnesota. So my apologies, but I'm here today. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, well, it's good to be creating content again with you. It's been a long time since we were, on the same team and able to do fun stuff like this.
Yes.
So this is Sue's first interview in Mortgage Coach in a long time, but hopefully not her last. And she is going to become more and more a leader in our community. So if you do have questions for Sue, if there are things you'd like to talk about, go into our Facebook group. I'm going to show my screen right now just to make sure everybody knows how to get in there. Marcy, could you confirm that you guys can see my screen?
We can see your screen.
All right. So just a reminder, if you haven't already signed up, become part of the Mortgage Coach Productivity Mastermind. We started this Facebook group to support our Friday Mastermind. So every Friday there's a live call. Todd Bookspan is my co-host, and it's all about how to make more money in less time as a mortgage pro. This group was started for that, but if you do have questions for Sue, or you want to create topics for our next conversation, just post them here. I also want to let everybody know I did post our Mortgage Coach Why worksheet. One of the things Sue's going to be talking about today is You 3.0, and I already know where this is going to go. And one of the things you need to do is get clear on your why. What is your purpose? So make sure you check that out. Also, Kristen Messerly and I have been working on an article for the Modern Loan Officer Checklist. I want to shine a light on that. So that's also available in the group. But with that said, I really want to have this conversation with you, Sue, on You 3.0. For those of you who don't know Sue, Sue has been a top-performing loan officer, speaker, leader. You are now what's the official title?
The Chief Customer Officer and Total Expert.
And Total Expert, one of our newest CRM partners. So, Sue, why don't you walk us through You 3.0, why, and what that means?
Yeah, and tell me, as far as, do you want me to advance slides as we go?
If you want to.
I realized I forgot to catch the logistics with you before we go. So are we on camera? Are they seeing the slides?
They can see.
Both of us? Everything?
You can see the slides and you can see us. Could you confirm that, Marcy? Yeah, just assume they can see it all.
Okay, I will. Well, I'm so glad to be here, and thank you, Dave, for inviting me in to talk a little bit about You 3.0. And I know I do have a lot of friends that are on the call who sent notes and we're excited about today, and I was excited to be here with you because, yes, it has been a long time since we've been able to really work together as partners, which between Total Expert and Mortgage Coach, there's some really exciting things happening. So I'm excited to be here, and You 3.0 kind of resonated with me because, as some of you know, I definitely took some time off last year. I took about 8 months off on what I called my sabbatical and did some thinking about my own kind of 3.0 version of myself. And I really think, and in conversations Dave and I have had, this is a very critical time in our industry where we need to make some decisions as, those of us who are serving the industry, originating, but watching all of this digital technology coming in and finding our place and our comfort level with that. This is a time for us to reboot, to upgrade, and really look at what is the best version of ourselves look like in the new reality that we're heading into. Because I contend, and I believe Dave would agree with this, there is a great place for us as especially this group, this type of originator that is a part of this family. I mean, I've been digging through the website and reading some of the comments and the conversations and watching the interviews, and this is where it's at. I mean, this is the group of people who have a real huge relevant place that have nothing to fear from this digital wave coming in. But I want to talk today about some of the things that I really do see as the imperative for where we're at literally right now, because I do see this as being a big year of change in our industry, partly because, the refis are squarely gone. We have to up our game as purchase originators, and that means just really embracing some things that, I think are, again, just critical during this turning point in the industry. And I actually woke up in the middle of the night the other night, and there was a commercial on TV. It was GE, so I can't say that I made this up, but GE, of all places, this was 3 o'clock in the morning. I fell asleep watching the Olympics, one of those weird, like, the biathlon. I do too, but I don't understand the skiing and shooting. That's the weirdest combination of things
I
I've
like
ever
it.
seen.
Looks
Okay,
fun to me.
skiing and shooting, odd. But I woke up in the middle of the night and this was on the screen, and I literally jumped out of bed and was like, I got to write that down. It's awesome. And it was, technology is how we do things, but people are why we do things. And it just really resonated with me because I thought technology is what enables us to really have those powerful interactions that I know you guys are having with your clients right now and really take things to the next level. So as we look at some of the imperatives, and 5 specific imperatives that I want to talk about today that are really critical to embrace in 2018, these are the things that we're going to talk through. And is there a way people could ask questions as we go? Or if that's a thing?
That is a thing. So,
okay.
Folks, you can put in questions or feedback, and Sue, I will be able to check them out. So, literally, if you ask everybody a question, they can either, give us answers.
Okay.
And by the way, I am going to ask a question right now because I would love to know what are you working on right now. I posted this in the Facebook group the other day, and we got lots of feedback. I'm working on making more calls. I'm working on my annual reviews. But just to get the juices flowing, what are some new skills, new habits, new things that you think you need to work on and build right now? What are you doing? So put those in there. I'll call them out in a few minutes. Keep it rolling.
Awesome.
And let's get some engagement, guys.
Let's do it. So as we go through these 5 imperatives, just to give you the high level to start off with, first of all, I want to talk about an omnichannel approach. I want to talk about, I love that somebody just said consistency, because consistency and constancy and repetition is something that we're going to touch on as well. Your personal brand is something that, I think we've been talking about this for years in this industry, but it's taking a really new and heightened significance in the environment that we're operating in right now. So I want to dig into personal brand a little bit and what that means and how you really show up with your personal brand currently. Building connection to build trust. I think there's just such a massive lack of trust out there in the world right now. People are afraid to have conversations, it feels like, about a lot of things. And so again, I love in this community, this is a community with trust built into it with each other, which is fantastic. And we're learning the ways to really connect and build trust with our clients and our referral partners as well. So again, I think this will be right in line. And then finally, it's really talking about how, automate and elevate. To me is what it's really about. How do we really take technology and allow it to power us to go to the next level, to have those interactions that we need to with our customers. So you want to... I
want to say one thing before you go to the next slide. So personal brand, I want everybody right now to think to yourself, if there was one word that represented your personal brand and how you want to be perceived by both your borrowers and your realtors, what would be one word that would represent, that you'd want to represent your personal brand? I already thought of what my one word would be. I might tell you if enough of you tell us what's one word that represents your personal brand. Trustworthy. I love that.
That's great.
Come on, guys. Let's rock it out. Results. Bring it on. Educator. Boom. It is the mortgage coach community, and we differentiate through education. By the way, Sue, let's throw it to you. What would be one word that would represent your personal brand?
You know what? I would say servant. Honestly, is the first thing that comes to mind. Really one of the things I worked on in my time off was really thinking about my own mission statement. And I'm nearly at what I'd like to call the halftime of my life, approaching the big 5-0 soon. And I really thought about that. The 3 things that kept coming up were to make an impact, to excel, and to serve. And those are the 3 things that that resonate with me and my personal brand.
And by the way, they do. My one word, if I had one, would be authenticity. I always just want to be real with you guys. Intelligent, integrity, sharp, motivated, knowledgeable. All right, guys, you are paying attention. Love all the feedback.
I love it. Well, let's move forward and talk a little bit about why Sue can't make the clicker work.
You know what happened was I took you offline.
That's all right. We can make it all work. So I can see the slides on your screen on your cool Mac, which mine is a PC. Adjusted a little. Everybody work with me. I know it's hard for you to look at the PC.
Don't want to touch it. Let's stay with Mac.
Oh my God, you are authentic. I will say you say what you feel. So the omni-channel approach. Let's talk about what that means. A lot of people in the past have talked about multi-channel marketing, and omni-channel is going to be the new word that you're going to start to see and hear a lot more of. And let's talk about what that means. Multi-channel means that you have multiple channels by which you're connecting with your customers and your referral partners, your community, etc. Where you've got LinkedIn as a strategy, you've got Facebook as a strategy, you might have a print strategy, you might have a website, you might have email marketing. but they're not necessarily connected, and you may not necessarily have the same communications and personality and consistency of the experience for your client or for your referral partner across all of those channels. And so there's a real move from multi-channel, saying we've got all these things, both channels and also devices is another part of this as well. What device are people looking at? And the omnichannel and having the same experience and the consistency of the process. Like I can check in here and check in here, and it's still safe. And it's still
and it's multi-device.
Yeah.
I could be
multi-device.
just sitting here. We've got an iPhone. I've got an iPad.
I know you want to talk about my PC. I know.
That is a separate channel, and then I've got an Apple. So it is a different world.
Right. And I have my Droid in my bag right over there, too, which I'm sure horrifies you.
Don't brag about that.
Okay, I know.
Hey, real quick, guys, I would love to know, how many channels are you using? When you think of the communication, I think everybody's using email. At least I hope you are. Everybody's using text. And by the way, think of it in the context of your partnership. Think about the number of channels in which you've connected with a realtor in the past 5 days. And I would love for you guys, in questions, tell us what they are. Email, text, Facebook. What are the channels you've used in the past 5 days to connect with real estate agents? Let us know.
I'm guessing it's going to be some of the usual suspects. Some of the stats I'll share with you while you guys are filling that in is, and I don't think this will be a surprise, that 98% of Americans are switching between a lot of static. Uh-oh, are we all right? Hopefully you guys can hear okay.
No, we're good. They hear us.
Most Americans are switching between devices in the same day. And I think the reality is, I would say, probably for most of us on this call, we're switching between several different devices within hours of each other. So people absolutely broadly now are switching between their mobile, their laptop, their tablet, all of these different channels. And also when you look at the channels that people are looking to reach you through, and I want to kind of go to what you guys are filling in here. In 2003, so 15 years ago, there were two was the most common that people might reach you via email and your website. And that was really it. Today, it is most commonly 6 different channels or different areas of touch that people are looking to work with people on. And they're expecting, again, to have consistency across that experience. They're expecting that they're going to get the same you, regardless of if they're talking to you on LinkedIn or on Facebook. A lot of times people will have a Facebook business page to make sure they're keeping that same image out there. The website, how you're communicating with them via email, text, video, whatever those things are. It kind of goes back, I keep thinking of authenticity. It's being your same self and providing a consistent experience across all of those channels. So let's look at what some people loaded in here. LinkedIn, email, text, Facebook, mobile app, campaign drip email.
Slide dial. Yeah. How many people are using some slide dial-like strategy? I'm curious. I've been hearing that come up more and more and more. By the way, I've had a few people report sound is not good. Marcy, should we try to adjust our mic, or how is the sound at the moment?
Sure.
Is that yes, we should adjust it?
Yes, please.
Okay.
It's not my PC or Droid.
Like coming through, and it's almost overpowering.
How's that? Is that better?
No, try just jiggling the actual cord. I think it's just the connector.
Oh, well, I've called in on my phone, so if it's not adjusting, I'm going to go into the computer.
Awesome.
So computer sound. Is it still bad?
Yes, I can still hear the feedback.
Hey, Marcy, is this better?
Much better.
Okay.
No feedback.
Sorry about that, everybody. Hopefully you got the gist of what we were talking about. If anything else comes up, Marcy, just speak into me and let me know, and we'll make another adjustment.
Yes, much better. Okay, good. Well, let us know if there's any other problems with the sound, because, and I love that we're family, and we can just say, hey, sound sucks, fix it up. So thank you guys for the feedback, and so here we are. And hopefully there was, you guys got the high points on that, of really looking at the different channels that, that you're working with, and ensuring your two things. Number one, that your approach is consistent across those channels, that you're not providing a completely different or isolated process or persona or anything else across, the social media channels, your automated email systems that you might be using, your website, your personal communications, your text, you know, authenticity, again, going back to the word that Dave brought up, making sure that you're consistent across those different channels, and also looking at your consistency across different devices was the other thing that we were really talking about. So, okay, we're all thumbs up now. So, okay, good. And I know a lot of you mentioned Facebook, by the way, as something that you were using in your business, which I'm so glad to hear that. And one of the things that Dave and I were actually talking about is Facebook Audiences, which is a new free feature. I don't know if you guys have talked about it yet.
We've had a number of calls and experts come in and talk about you know, custom audiences.
Awesome. Okay. Well, what I've got is courtesy of my new family at Total Expert. There's a really cool, very step-by-step playbook that they provided for how to really generate more leads with some of those Facebook features, including that audience. So I'm going to be providing that. I'll post that in the, I think just right in the Facebook so following this call.
It'll be in the Facebook group, and then for anybody that's watching this as a recording, down below, you're watching this in YouTube, 1, give us a like and share it, and then 2, in the description, we'll put a link to this playbook.
Cool. That'd be awesome. So, so I just want to let you guys know that that'll be made available, and obviously you can feel free to share that with anybody on your team that really wants to take advantage of some of those things as well. But what I would encourage you to do is, you know, I'm always a big one for saying, okay, what's your action item that you think you need to take from this? Because I don't want to just sit and tell you things and you're like, yeah, that's nice. Like there's an action item in there, I think, in really looking at, and maybe even having somebody else look at your different channels that you're operating through. You guys just listed, you know, I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, automated marketing, a website, you know, text message, email, all these different channels. And I would encourage you to have someone, or maybe even ask a trusted past customer, like, you know, their experience. Did you feel like this was a consistent experience, that you could reach me during any one of these channels and get the same service experience, that it was the same persona that you were dealing with the whole time? Or ask somebody, again, just a friend of yours or colleague or somebody that will be honest with you and really tell you how do you stack up on that omni-channel approach. And again, that's something you're probably going to start to hear a lot more of in the months to come, is omni-channel. So
two things, guys.
Yeah.
So one, I had a reach out on Facebook from realtor Glenn Bill, who I interviewed years ago. And one of the all-time best interviews I did with him was called, "What do realtors really think about your marketing?" And he was very candid and he gave you feedback, but that was a huge idea. And I do recommend everybody in this call, you've got partners, referral partners that you trust, and to sit down, schedule a time and go through your marketing and get feedback from something that we don't do. Like, what do you think about? And hey, you like me, but if you didn't know me, what would you think about that? So that's a good exercise. Also, from a Facebook perspective, if you have not watched the interview I did with Bill Hillstad a few weeks ago, I'm going to put a link below. Must watch. I think it was, if not the all-time highest rated Friday call, one of them. I'm also going to put a link below on YouTube channel, and I'm interviewing Bill this Friday. So this Friday, 9 o'clock, Bill Hillstad will be talking about Facebook strategies. So check that out.
Yeah, so he'll go really deep on that. Again, that's great content that's there, but I'd encourage you to, just as we walk through this, you know, we're talking about just really 5 things today, but just grab something out of there that's an action item for you. And that's the one I would take, is really having somebody who will be honest with you, take a look at your marketing, and give you their perspective on your communications throughout those channels. So
great takeaway.
All right, let's move on. Talking about consistency and repetition. This is something that when I speak about marketing, I talk about a lot, but it's interesting that even dealing with enterprise level customers, it's something that they struggle with in terms of the consistency, constancy, and repetition of their message. One of the reasons for that, and we are certainly prone to it as creative loan officers, we get bored with our own message before our customers even started to hear it. What the studies have shown is that it takes 9 contacts before a customer really even starts to go, oh yeah, like I'm starting to recognize that message or that person. And so one of the things, and in fact, somebody said this, I think earlier, that was one of their things that they were working on, was consistency. And I think consistency of your actions is incredibly important, but also in consistency and repetition of your message. we're operating in a world right now where there's so much noise. I mean, there is so much noise. They say that right now we get more information that comes at us in 24 hours than somebody in the 17th century had to process in their entire lifetimes, right? So when you think about that, but it's true. I mean, it's just true. Watch people walking around. You go through the airport and, there's, things coming in your ears, everybody's staring at their phones, they're trying to figure out this, they're looking at that, they're working on, I mean, it's just the mass of processing that our brains are being asked to do means that it's very hard for a message to get through. And that's why your message and, what you're approaching with your customers, with your referral partners, being consistent and probably repeating it a few more times than you think you may need to is critically important. And again, I would take that as something to really evaluate and look at some of your messaging points. Those of you who are using automated marketing campaigns, where you've got your processes in place, really analyze and look at your consistency, your repetition. One of the biggest things that repetition also will do for you is frequency. When you have frequency with something, it breeds familiarity. It's very interesting how people will find that video or even social media becomes, it feels familiar, and familiarity starts to build trust. So when, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are probably on this call, I bet all of you have met Dave live at some point in your careers at this point, because that's the kind of guy Dave is, and he's out doing a lot of things. But I bet even if you hadn't, you'd feel like, well, I know Dave. I know Dave. And part of that is because he's consistent with his message. He's authentic in who he is, and he repeats his message. And he breeds that familiarity partly because he's with you, he's connected to you, and he's building this community. And that with our customers, with our community, with our referral partners, having that consistent contact and the repetition, even though it may feel repetitious to us, and we might want to dial back and say, oh gosh, I feel like I've been on him too much. Don't do that. There's a lot of noise out there, and your message getting through is really going to come from that frequency, the familiarity, and that's what's going to help lead to trust. So I'd advise few messages more often. For example, if you've got a particular product or something like that you want to promote, or something, just something unique that that you're getting out there as a message, highly advise that once you pick what it is, get it out there repeatedly, but don't shift to another message too soon. Because again, it's an average of 9 times that it takes people before they really start to even see that message coming through. Beware of boredom. Again, that's for us. We get bored, like I said, because we tend to be creative people, right, relationship people. We get bored with our message and think, oh, I've done that to death, because we've been thinking about it for so long. And it's right about the time that our customers are just starting to see it, or our referral partners are just starting to resonate with that we say, okay, I'm going to move off to a different message. So the takeaway that I would take there is also to to automate. I mean, I think that's a really powerful way to ensure that you stay consistent. I think a lot of you mentioned in the things that the channels that you're using, automated marketing, I think came up a lot in that. Automation, I think, is so incredibly key to have this. Otherwise, you guys are all experienced loan officers, and I've been in the business about 25, 28, 20 some years now. Let's just say 20 some years. But kind of before you get in your groove, we all have this thing of your production going up and down, that inevitable cycle. And it's because we haven't put the systems in place to allow us to be consistent with our repetition of that message. And then we have to be the ones to ensure that what we are saying is consistent and that message is coming through clearly.
Love it. So I want to just put this in a focus that we have right now. At Mortgage Coach, we are helping our community deliver annual mortgage reviews.
Yeah.
So I don't know if everybody remembers the interview I did with Rick Shearer. He sends out an email, saying, hey, it's that time of year. It's been a year since I did a loan. It's time for an annual review. And he gets X percentage response rate. Then he sends a text, sends another email. He does slide dial. By the way, if you want to see his playbook, you want to see the email, see all that, it's in one of my LinkedIn articles. Also put a link to that down below. And then the move that you're hearing a lot right now is Facebook custom groups. So make sure you have one of those, is it custom groups, are they called? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Facebook custom group of all your past customers. And then think about it, if once a month you shared a story of a past customer where you did the annual review and they were able to pay off their home faster, or they didn't realize that they had enough equity in their home to buy up and do a move and get a bigger home, or they didn't realize that, oh, we can buy that vacation home that we always wanted. So think about it, if you were emailing, texting, slide dial, whatever message. And then you also had all your past customers and one of these custom groups. Over the course of a year, they would know that you deliver that service. One, you'd maximize your retention rate. So for every 1,000 past customers, you'd have 100 transactions. If you have 500, that's 50. So you'd have more business and you'd get more referrals. So just think about it. When it comes to your database, nothing is more important than that. And you really need to start thinking about it multi-channel. So quick question to the community. I want you to think of your past customer base. And I want to know over the past 6 months, how many different touch points have you had? Email, just give us a number. Think of how many touch points to your past customer database they have received. I just want to get a feel for the community, how many times in how many different ways you're communicating with people. Back to you, Sue.
I think that's going to be kind of exciting to see what people come up with there. And if you're not sure, if you're looking at kind of the way that you're approaching the customer experience and you're not 100% sure of how many times you're touching your prospects, how many times you're touching, probably a better example is the past customer, because you should have a locked in customer experience that you are saying, I do this every single month through these channels. I do this every single quarter through these channels. I do the annual review every single year, and here's how I get that message out through these channels. That should be something that's absolutely rock solid, nailed down. And if you don't have that, if you don't know exactly what your customer experience looks like once they have done a transaction with you, or maybe it's just somebody that is in your database that you're going to be doing a transaction with, and same thing I'd say for the referral partners, you should have absolute clarity on what that consistent process looks like and what those touch points look like with that customer database and also with your referral partners, so you know what those touches are. So, okay.
Boom.
All right. So I guess that would be your action item on that one, is if you don't know for sure this is what it looks like, make a plan surrounding that and really just say, I know that I need to be consistent. So here's what my automated marketing plan looks like, but do I need to amp it up a little bit? Do I need to get more laser focused on some of my messages? And do I need more repetition perhaps across the channels, as Dave was mentioning a minute ago? So let's move forward from there. By the way, I think John was asking, how do we get one of the resources? I'm going to be posting them after we get off the line today in the Facebook group. And then I think we're going to have some other links in there as well. So we will make sure.
Below for anybody that's watching.
Yeah, we'll make sure that you all have it. So I want to talk a little bit about just your personal brand. And this is a topic that I've spoken on a fair amount in the past, but it's been interestingly coming up a lot just in the last 30 to 60 days from enterprise level, which is not where you normally hear. You don't normally hear leaders of companies, large companies that pay a lot of money to have their company brand say that their loan officers being able to have a personal brand is important to them. And I'm telling you that I'm hearing that, very high level, that it is really important to them. So the reason why this is important, I think this is not, news to anybody, that people are obviously engaging in various digital mortgage apps and different solutions to help them through the home buying process. But the vast majority of people still want to talk to a human being. And again, I think the makeup of our industry, I would say literally over the next probably 18 months, I think we're going to see some changes in who those human beings are and who is serving the public that's out there. And, the cool thing is being in here and talking to this group in this community and in this family, it's going to be you guys, quite honestly, because it is the people who have chosen to raise their game. You're investing in solutions. You're doing the right thing by your customer. You're providing them a completely different experience than I would say, the vast majority of originators out there are. So I know, again, that you guys know the value of the human equation and the transaction, but I want to talk a little bit just about this very specific point on personal brand. This is just a quote that I love by Tom Peters, where he says, regardless of age and regardless of position, regardless of the business we all happen to be in, all of us need to understand the importance of branding. We are CEOs of our own companies, Me Inc. And to be in business today, our most important job is to be head marketer for the brand called you. Now, I don't remember the exact era of this quote. You may know better than me, but I want to say this is in the 80s or something.
I would say the 80s.
Yeah, it was in the 80s because I think it was, it was in the 80s, let's just say. So this is something that, again, this is a message that is, not a new message, but it's something critically important to do. You need to find what your personal brand is underneath the company that you work for. You want to be respectful of their brand. And obviously there's a lot of compliance surrounding the brand, but I am telling you that I'm hearing high level, big companies, enterprise level leaders saying, we know that personal brand is really important to our folks, and being able to support them having their personal brand underneath our umbrella is important. So, you know, and part of what I think is good about that and good about the awareness of that is that it actually does really benefit both you and the enterprise to have a really strong personal brand. And I think, you know, the personal brand I see is the intersection of perception and reality, because there is how you see yourself, and sometimes how you see yourself may not always be exactly accurate. Okay, you might be too hard on yourself, or you might think you've got a certain perception out there in the community of yourself, but you know, that may or may not be on point. And it's also how others see you, which may or may not be on point, you know, with how you really want to present yourself either. I loved some of the things, the words that you guys shared earlier. For example, when you're talking about, this is the word that really says me, I'm an educator, I'm an inspirer, I'm authentic, I'm knowledgeable, I'm consistent. I mean, those words that you were sharing, I guess I would ask you and challenge you, would that be clear? If somebody looked at your personal branding right now, does that word really come through in what you're sharing as your personal brand? Is that something that you are saying, that you are getting out there in your messaging? I mean, how are you actually empowering that personal brand? One of the things that I will share with you, because I think it is critical that, as I said, having the enterprise level actually saying, hey, we understand that personal branding is important. There's some really cool stats around that. Some of them I've got up on the screen here, that when you're using personal branding, meaning you are making a different connection with the consumer, that leads actually convert 7 times more frequently than just generic leads that are coming in under the umbrella of company X. Sales reps that utilize personal branding in their messages outsell 78% of their peers. 33% of people trust brand, 90% of people trust people. Okay, so that's where your personal brand is coming into play. 10 times more followers than on personal social media accounts and corporate social media accounts. And they say that people that utilize branding, personal branding, tend to be more optimistic and also more competitive. So there's some really powerful things in developing your own personal brand. Did you have something you wanted to jump in on?
I did, before you go to the next slide.
Yeah, please.
Well, I wanted to, you know, talk about that, because as a mortgage coach, by the way, I'm pulling up my mobile app right now, just because when you think of the total cost analysis, part of how we designed it would be to be the ultimate conversion tool for you, so that when you're quoting rates and fees, you get the maximum conversion. And I think if anybody watches me, you know how important it is to make sure that you are differentiating yourself from the competition and you're humanizing yourself. Remember, I'm talking by 2020, your customers will be able to call a phone number to get a mortgage quote, and they won't know whether they're talking to a human being or a machine. So it is essential to your past customers and to your realtor partners, they know you as a human being.
Yep.
So, you know, that's why we put your picture. It's why there's company brand, your picture. And it's important that I want everybody to take a look at that picture. Is that picture really you? You know, if it's not, get it upgraded. If the way it's showing up in your marketing, you know, is distorted, it's not dialed in, get it fixed. By the way, if you have problems or issues in mortgage coach land, you can email support@mortgagecoach.com. But I think this is also just a great affirmation and reminder. You got to use video. You got to use your picture.
Yeah.
You got to be thoughtful of how you're presenting yourself, so that all the referral partners, all the past customers, they know you, they like you, and they trust you. And then remember, we're talking about, it's not just the loan officer with the most friends that wins. Going forward, it's the loan officer with the most digital friends wins. So really think about how you look on digital. And are you communicating in those multi-channels?
And I'm glad you touched on video. That was, you know, it's something, again, that I talk about a lot, doing video marketing. And, you know, you obviously do a ton of video. I think a lot of you guys on the line, you know, probably do as well. I do a lot of video as well. A lot of people are actually afraid to do video. They get nervous about doing video, and I kind of will ask, well, you know, why don't you want to do video? Well, I don't know what to say. I don't this, I don't that. Realistically, I understand that people don't like how they look on video, right? They get, you know, they think, oh, I look funny on video. And again, I kind of always make the crack a little bit. It's like, well, if you think you look funny on video, you know, the truth is maybe you just look funny. Like, that is literally what you look like.
And they still like you because you're you.
Right?
You know,
exactly.
They're you.
Yeah. And I think, you know, one of the things that I, again, on doing video, if you're not currently doing video, in fact, I'd be actually really curious. I'm trying to think of what's the right question to ask about if folks are actually utilizing video.
Well, I have 2 questions. I was actually, great minds think alike.
Yes, go.
So here's for those of you that are doing video, how many videos have you created in the last week? You know, so if you're doing a total cost analysis video, any type of video that you're doing, let us know how many you've done. By the way, let's just say for the month. That gives you a little more time. How many have you done this month? And by the way, if you're not doing video, let us know why not. You have one thought. Is it, I'm afraid? Is it, I don't know how? Is it, I don't like the way I look? Is it something different than that? So really quick, by the way, if we call you out, we won't say your name. So don't worry. If you're not doing video, tell us why not. So by the way, this is pretty cool. We got 12, 2, just under 20, 6, 3, 20 plus. Bobby, you rock.
Yes.
5. So we got a lot of people doing video. Love video.
Love the video.
Now we're not getting a lot of you saying why not. It seems overwhelming. Not sure of the material. Time is an issue. Haven't utilized it yet. Coming up with the content is the biggest issue. So
I don't like how I look.
So I don't like how I look. So
I'm feeling.
So one thought, one of the reasons why I think the Mortgage Coach Total Cost Analysis video is the most important, because you really don't need to come up with the content. You're a loan officer. You know how to describe different programs. First of all, you do it all day long. You do it on voicemails. You do it with families. So starting with that total cost analysis video is easy, because you don't have to, the content is content you're already creating. And then at least you get comfortable with technically doing it. You get comfortable with seeing yourself, and the content's easy. So that's a suggestion for those of you that are concerned about content. That's a strategy. Also, I have done a number of calls on, how to create video. What is the content to put in that? We'll share a link to one of the ones that I think is the best. And by the way, let's make that a follow-up call.
Yeah, I would actually love to do that.
Yeah,
I would love to talk more about video.
So let's maybe either bring you into a Friday call or do another Tuesday call. And it's just all about, hey, you've not done a video, how to get over the overwhelm hurdle, and how to create content.
Yes, let's totally do that. Okay. I'm on board for that, because I love that one. And I will tell you, one of my secrets for doing video is I record and hit send. I never watch it. I really don't, because I'm like, oh, my mouth is doing something weird and I'm blinking a lot. And you guys are probably going to start noticing now that my mouth is doing something weird and I'm blinking a lot. But, that's what I look like. We spend the whole day backstage of our own face, and we don't realize this is what we look like. And video is the #1 most consumed content on the planet. I mean, it is absolutely the #1 thing, and it has the most impact in terms of making a personal connection with someone and it's not really personal. You're creating a video, but it feels personal. This feels personal. I wish I could actually see you guys and look into all your eyes right now, cool. But this feels personal, right? Because we're on video with each other. But it's again, it's probably a lot less about making sure that your delivery is perfect. I mean, it doesn't matter about perfection. It's you that people want. It's your authenticity. It's your, again, this becomes part of your personal brand. But I would love to do another call and talk about, I could give 100 ideas of places to get content from. But I think the content, as I said, the content is critical, but what's more important is just jumping into it and embracing it. So we can talk more about that. There's just,
we will talk more about it. And then, by the way, in our Facebook group, I'm sharing it right now. I did an interview with Kelly Zitlow, and she talked about how she overcame, video. She talks about, hey, I'll only watch it one time and send it. So very practical about, she's got one of the best YouTube channels of any mortgage professional I know. So I'm going to put a link to that in our Facebook group. Check it out.
And even, you can even just be simple. I mean, it's Dave said it well a moment ago. I want to make sure you caught that. This is what you're just doing all day. I mean, you are creating content. You know what interest rates are doing. You probably know why they're moving. You know what's happening in your community on real estate. Like some great success stories that you've had with customers that you don't have to name by name. There's, your world is content. People aren't looking for, necessarily a package all the time. They're just looking for you and to hear from you and talk to you. So anyways, enough about video. I'd love to get back to that one at some point. But I do think it's critically important. There's a great book by a guy named Kjell Nordstrom. Oops, I got to get back to.
You can't touch the screen.
Can't touch the screen. Can't touch this. All right.
There.
Great quote that I love, talking about the society that we're living in. It's the surplus society has a surplus of similar companies employing similar people with similar educational backgrounds, coming up with similar ideas, producing similar things with similar prices and similar quality. That is the ocean out there. And that is what's so cool about us all in this group, is because this is not you. And this is where your personal brand really comes into play, and utilizing the tools that you have in Mortgage Coach and really marrying that with your own brand, your own authentic self, and getting that out there, is that you stand out from the sea of individuals. And I don't think that sea of individuals is actually going to be out there in the same way. Literally in 18 months from now, this year is going to be a game changer. And that's why these things are so critical right now. I do actually, excuse me, have for you, it's a little ebook that I wrote about building your personal brand. And it actually walks you through an exercise that you can just go through to really come up with your own brand statement and really think through what is authentic for you. And the thing that's true, just think about this for a moment, is you already have a personal brand. It's just a matter of, have you curated that to be exactly what you want it to be? Again, some of the great words, really powerful words that you all shared earlier in this call, knowledgeable, authentic, integrity, responsive, those great things. Are you being intentional that that is a part of your personal brand out there? Because again, you have a brand, it's called your reputation, but I think you can get super intentional about it. And then again, plug it into some of the other things we're talking about, plug it into those channels and make sure that brand is consistent across the board, making sure that you're consistent and using repetition in really reinforcing that personal brand. So this is, again, just another little workbook, ebook that I'm going to send out to the Mortgage Coach community when we wrap up with this call. How are we doing on time? We're okay. We're doing okay. Yeah. So a couple things on connection and building personal connection. And this is something that I don't know. I can't even explain how important that this is in today's world, because trust, as I said, is just so severely lacking. We were talking, in fact, yesterday about, there was a panel about millennials that I was on here yesterday. We're in San Francisco at the Calyx Vision 18 event, and we're doing a great panel later today with Stu Sweet, who I think has been featured on your interview. I
interviewed Stu a couple weeks ago. Check out that.
Yep. So it's going to be good. But one of the things we're talking about in this millennial panel is, how do you build, this connection with a group of people that are somewhat untrusting of mortgage bankers, quite honestly. A lot of people in that demographic actually saw their parents lose their homes, have really, again, have a little bit of sometimes lack of trust, I think, for our industry. And so how do you build that trust? Very interesting thing, McKinsey and Company, this was something that it's a quote I've heard come up a number of times recently, but I think this is really, really important as we do look at bringing in technology to our businesses, but retaining that critical human element. McKinsey and Company said, when it comes to our money, we'll more than likely always want to talk to a human, especially when it's a lot of money. This is another really pretty interesting one from NerdWallet with Huffington Post. They're saying, I know, isn't that great? Shopping real life mortgage rates and home lenders online is much harder than it sounds, and it gets even more difficult if you want to get a real mortgage rate. So I'm sure a lot of you are saying, like, amen, of course, yes, because we know this, but I think there's starting to be some more understanding of this, that the human being is still absolutely necessary to this equation. But what that means is that we have to be able to make that personal connection with someone. And so thinking about, how are you making that personal connection? How are you showing up with your customers? One of the great things that I think you are doing is you're pouring such real value into your customers, because you do have tools like the total cost analysis. You've got the annual reviews. You've got things that other lenders just simply aren't doing, where you are making a real connection with them, and you're reaching out proactively saying, hey, let's do this together and work on this. And really, again, making a connection that's critically important. This is how you build trust. When you think about the amount of information that our customers are sharing with us, they're telling us everything. They're telling us, we actually see more in the mortgage transaction than anyone else in their financial world ever does. We're seeing how they pay their bills, where they owe their debts to, how many children they have, how much money they've saved or lack thereof. We're seeing all of these things. So they're dying to have a real connection with you, because they want to trust you, because they feel very exposed, as you guys know. And so again, it's so incredibly important just to make sure that you're building that personal connection with them. I'd actually love to know, what are some of the things, if I could just ask a question, what are some of the top things that you guys are doing when we talk about that personal connection and building trust? How are you building trust with your customers right now, with your prospects that you're dealing with your referral partners? What are some things you guys are doing, you know, quick hits on building trust and making that personal connection?
So everybody, light us up, put it in the question box. What are you doing to build trust? And Bob was quick on the draw. Total cost analysis of video. Good job, Bob. You know, keep it coming. While we're waiting for a few more of you to answer, I do want to speak to one of the things that came in a minute ago in terms of why someone doesn't create video. And they said, one, because I freeze up most of the time. And two, and they say it takes forever to be perfect. And so I want to speak to that. First of all, perfect is not the goal. Remember this concept that authenticity beats professionalism. So ums and ahs and authenticity is more important than perfection. So perfection is not even what you're after. Now you do want to be fluid enough that it's not distracting. So if there's so many ums, ahs, and hesitations that it's hard to follow, well, that's a problem. But perfection is not what you're doing. And then two, if anybody's freezing up, that just means you haven't done it enough. You know, and there are some people that are natural, you know, like, hey, they're just natural. By the way, I was not natural. I mean, I'm pretty good on video now. I still say a lot of ums and ahs, so I don't consider myself a professional speaker because I don't have the dictation that you do. You are just so smooth.
Let me just, I got to interrupt you on that point real quick. I actually did probably, you know, to me, it was a really significant speaking engagement at Todd Duncan Sales Mastery.
Oh, you were
was a presentation that, I got to tell you guys, I worked on that presentation probably, you know, probably 200 hours, literally, for that presentation to present 75 minutes on stage. So, and I felt really good about it. I thought it was great, right? I thought it was good. I had to watch the video of it, which I never like to do later. And I actually say K a lot. And really? So I never noticed it.
Yeah, okay, I forgot about that word.
Right?
But I like that. K.
But at the same time, you know, to Dave's point, it's authentic. It was very authentically me. I've probably said K maybe 50 times on this call now that I think about it. But this is authentically me, and this is K. What I
No, I'm gonna probably we're all gonna
now
say
you're all
K.
gonna notice me blinking too much and saying K. But
all right, so hey, let's read off what it is. So we got video and empathy.
Video and empathy. That's
pre-approvals, weekly updates, TCA, to build trust, deliver my authentic, mentioned above, TCA.
I love that. Identifying what's important to them. Do what you say you're going to do.
Do what you say you're going to do.
That's so huge. Don't even talk about. Yeah.
Well, you guys are on it. You know, this is good. A lot of building trust is just showing up and doing what you say you're going to do.
Yep.
By the way, I didn't see anybody put it here, but asking great questions, you know, and not just the same questions every loan officer asks. Every loan officer asks, how long you be in the home?
Yeah.
So that doesn't build trust. But asking a question like, how old do you want to be when your home's paid off? And based off the loan you're getting, how old are you going to be? That's one, it's a different question. And two, the question itself says, I care about you. Yeah. I'm not just looking to get you a loan. I want to make sure I'm getting you a loan that achieves your goals. You know, questions like, you know, what are your goals with this house? And, you know, where do you see yourself 5 years and 10 years from now? Not every loan officer asks that question. Just that question alone builds a different level of trust. So there's things you can do within the first 2 minutes, first 5 minutes, within the first conversation that build trust and show you care.
Yep. And you know what? I love what Derek said here too about, you know, we don't even talk about, you know, mortgages in the get-go. You know, we talk about, you know, them, their family, their dreams. You know, and I love this comment. I'm going to be one of their closest relationships for at least 30 days. That's brilliant. But it's so true. I think sometimes we you know, in our efforts to, you know, be efficient and move quickly, sometimes we forget about that human piece of it, and absolutely take the time to have those personal moments. You know, people's favorite topic of conversation is themselves.
Right.
I asked that question once. I was speaking in Wisconsin, and I said, what's everybody's favorite topic of conversation? And a woman said, the weather. And I was like, you must be so much fun to hang out with. If the weather is everybody's favorite topic of conversation is always themselves. And don't miss the opportunity with customers when, again, We can use technology to automate so many things and make sure that we're consistent and make sure that we're communicating across these channels and really freeing you up to do the things that only you can do. And only you are in a position to ask those kind of questions. You know, technology will never replace you asking about, hey, I hear you've got 2 children, tell me about them. That's the kind of thing that people want to talk about, and then you start to build trust. They're already exposing everything they have financially to you, but just take a moment and build that personal connection with them. So let's move forward. And again, I can't.
I'll get you back on the grid.
All right. This is, again, something else that I love as we go to this last point, is thinking about, it's not about what technology will do for you. It's what you will do with technology. And I think it's not even necessarily about there's this concern that you hear from originators that I don't think is within this group as much about, is technology going to replace us? And Stu Sweet actually has a great quote on this. And I'm not going to say it exactly right, but he basically makes the point of, it's not about if technology is going to replace loan officers. It's about the loan officers utilizing and leveraging technology.
We'll praise the loan officers that won't.
The loan officers that don't. And again, in this group, in this family, in this circle of trust, you guys are. And so, you're already on that winning track. So again, this is something to embrace, not be afraid of. So last point that I just want to make is really just this kind of automate to elevate. And I am a huge believer in automating everything possible. And I'm talking about not just professionally, but even personally. If I can get everything sent to my house by Amazon, so I don't have to actually spend time and I can spend time doing personal connecting, that's what I'm going to do. I try to automate and offload everything that I possibly can. Even when you guys think about things, think of how often your friends right now think you're so thoughtful remembering their birthday, but you remember it because of your Outlook or your Facebook, right? I mean, that's just the reality of it now. But now we're able to reach out and have this somewhat personal connection with people, real personal connections with people, because automation is telling us, hey, it's that person's birthday and it's their special day that you can reach out. So automate everything that you possibly can. So I know there's a lot of different systems that people are probably using in their business in terms of automation. I'll tell you, I get a ton of automation done just by time blocking and Outlook. I mean, again, just those simple tools I can use, but using automated marketing systems, using CRM, just utilizing all the things that you can, everything possible across your personal and professional world to really amplify that personal and human connection. I do think that technology like CRM and automated marketing tools are just baseline for success. Depending on the company that you're at, sometimes companies have an enterprise level solution. I mean, that's what Total Expert is certainly an enterprise level solution. I know there's individual solutions as well that sometimes you're still allowed to be able to use, but just if you don't right now have a CRM and automated marketing tied together and in place in your business, that is a critical must do. I mean, it's just an absolute must do. I would suspect, again, knowing the caliber of people that are on this call, I suspect that, you're probably folks that actually are already have that plugged into your business, but just if you don't, make sure that you do, the sooner the better. Part of what that does is really creates a consistent process that you and your team and your clients can trust. It allows you to go on vacation because you know that things are going to be handled in a certain way because you put a process in place and then you've automated it. And again, Dave, of course, talking about the mortgage coach tools that you have in place become a critical part of that regularity, that consistency in that process.
No doubt. You got to do things daily. By the way, one last question. We've got about 7 minutes left, but I want to know how often do you use your CRM? Say daily, weekly, monthly,
or don't have,
and never don't have one. So let us know. I'm not necessarily going to read it all off, but how often are you using your CRM? Daily, weekly, monthly, never, don't have one.
Yeah, I'd love to know, especially.
Yeah, we'll see what everybody says.
Yeah, yep. But that's something that, again, I just think is absolutely critical. Ooh,
just blew up.
Daily, weekly. I love it.
Love that. Good job. And by the way,
awesome.
The right answer. Yeah. By the way, the right answer is hourly and daily. And if it's never, guys, 2020 is coming. You want to have a personal brand. You want to be personal relevant. You want to kill it in this business. You need to use your CRM daily and hourly.
Yep, absolutely right. And really just to wrap up, I mean, again, there's, this is something that I just think is so important where, again, You hear those fears of people being concerned about technology, but technology is a massive lever. It's like Archimedes said, you know, give me a lever and I can move the world, right? Well, technology is our lever, and we can literally move the world. We can seal our place in where this industry is going. I know Dave has talked about, you know, again, what's happening, you know, in the current market, where we're going in 2020, and who's going to survive and thrive, and who might not have a place here. And you all can have a place here because you are embracing technology. You know, technology can help us personalize, but you make the experience personal. Technology helps us meet expectations, but you help exceeds expectations. Technology may predict what's going to happen, but you can surprise a client by, you know, something that you put into that interaction, how you position it, how you work with your referral partners. Technology confirms things. You can smile. Technology automates, but I think we as human beings, we innovate and then we elevate. And that's what people are hungry for right now. And that's why they're working with people like you.
Love this slide set.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So I know we got a couple minutes before we wrap up. Any parting thoughts you have, or other questions that we want to ask the group?
Well, remember, this is a conversation. If you have more questions for Sue, let us know. I want everybody to think of this. I had a conversation with Coach Steve Scanlon recently, and I'm actually going to interview him next week around this concept that what happens when people change? Is it because they got a new accountability partner? Often it's because of some pain that happened to them, but it always has to do with they started thinking differently. You know, you thought of something differently. Steve threw this term at me called, we all have this narrative circuitry. You know, so like when someone says total cost analysis to me, you know, I live and breathe that thing, and I've heard so many success stories that I'm like, boom. You may say that to someone else, and they think, you know, they get overwhelmed. You know, just like video, the person who said, hey, video, I think of it as overwhelming. Whereas the person who creates video all the time, you know, they have a different narrative circuitry. So I want you to really start thinking about how you think. Start thinking about your mortgage why. And I will tell you, I'm going to do that interview with Steve. But if you're not using your CRM daily, if you're not delivering a total cost analysis to every family that you serve, if you're not following up with your past clients in consistent, predictable ways, those are things that you kind of like logically know you should do, but you're not doing. So the key is you got to change the way you think. So stay tuned on some ideas on how you can change the way you think. But I just want everybody to start really focusing on that, because if you're not doing the things I just listed, you're not optimizing yourself. You are not going to kill it in 2020 and beyond. It's going to be a disadvantage. And the loan officers that do get those habits to Sue Sweet, they are going to pick up market share. They are going to be more successful than the ones that don't. That's my last thought.
Yeah, no, here's the parting question I would ask you, because we have 3 minutes until the top of the hour. So what I would ask you is, what is one thing out of this call and this time that we had together? And thank you so much for graciously allowing me this time. Again, my apologies for having missed a few weeks ago. But what would be one thing that you could say, I'm going to go take action on? And I would ask you to write that down somewhere, wherever you're sitting. Unless you're driving, don't write it down. But if you're sitting somewhere and you're watching this, write one thing down that you're saying, you know what, I need to look into this. I need to take an action. I need to dig into this particular thing. I need to do video. I need to look at my omnichannel approach. I need to evaluate my marketing for consistency. I actually need to, look into having a CRM or automated marketing. But even just pick one thing, write it down, and then share it with somebody else. Accountability is what is going to lead to execution. And I think there's something just very powerful about just saying, hey, let's just do one thing. Write that thing down. Share it with somebody else on, one of your partners here at Mortgage Coach, one of your friends. Say, hey, this is the one thing that I'm going to go take action on and do and execute because of this call. Build that accountability, and then I know you're going to do it.
So here's what I'm going to do, folks. When this video hits our YouTube channel in a couple hours, I'm going to share it in our Facebook group, and then I'm going to ask you the question: what is the one thing that you're going to do after listening to this hour with Sue and I? So you'll be able to share it in comments. I don't know if we'll be able to hold you accountable, but maybe just getting clear on it and writing it down is half the battle, Sue.
One thing that I'll just say, and this is something maybe some of you guys are aware of, there's actually this awesome website called Stick. It's stickk.com. And if you have something where you're saying, I know I need to do this goal that I need to accomplish, you can put it on this website. It's a free website, stick.com. You can bring in a referee that says, yes, this person accomplished it by this date, or they didn't. So you keep yourself honest. And then if you want to, you can bet money against yourself that if you accomplish it, great, you don't have to pay the money. If you don't accomplish it, or if your referee says, no, they didn't do it, the money goes to a charity you hate. Imagine the possibilities, right? So, or I should say a cause that you hate. So again, just an idea, stickk.com. That's a great accountability tool.
Let me know if anybody's doing that. And if you could, before you leave today's call, let us know what you thought of today's call. Did we surpass your expectations with value? If you are a guest to the Mortgage Coach community and you want to get a demo and learn more about Mortgage Coach, let us know. So as you're leaving, let us know what you thought of today's call. Hey, everybody. First of all, Sue, thank you very much. You rocked it out. Have a good one, everybody. This call is a wrap.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.